All right, so originally I had no plans to pick up the Z2 Go chipset model of the Legion Go S again, even if it was the Steam version, but a great open box deal did pop up at a local Best Buy store, and I said, yeah, why not? Let me go check it out. And man, am I glad that I did that, because I was not expecting what I'm about to show you. I did a couple videos on the Windows version of this a few months ago, which exhibited relatively poor performance and I felt was overpriced for what you were getting. And I do still stand by those videos. However, a couple things have come up or changed now. So multiple people did find out that the Windows version came with a Windows install by default that had subpar performance and did find increased performance by reinstalling Windows, so keep that in mind. But I still think the video was representative of what a lot of people experience and is relevant in that regard. At that time, I also did a follow-up video where I installed Bazite and did show decent performance gains over the stock Windows, but still not as good as this official SteamOS. Well, here we are today, and I'm just going to cut straight to the point and say that SteamOS has taken this device from a probably not to an actual contender. This new release of the Z2 Go version with SteamOS is priced more attractively at $599 USD. You do lose half the storage and RAM, but I think for the use case of many, that can still be enough. And the storage is upgradable, although the RAM is not. I do also have the Z1 Extreme version of this same handheld with SteamOS on order, but unfortunately that has been delayed. I was supposed to receive it already, but there's been some stock issues in the US with Best Buy, so more to come on that one. Before we get started, to clear up any confusion, I want to review the available models in the US market of the Legion Go S. There are some slight variations internationally, but for me, I'm just going to look at the US today. So first up, on the top row of the table here, we have the Z2 Go that comes in two versions. The SteamOS version has 16 gigabytes of RAM and 512 gigabytes of storage for $599. The Windows version has double that, so 32 gigabytes of RAM and 1 terabyte of storage for $729, although at the time of recording this video, that is actually also on sale at $599. So if you wanted to pick up that one and install SteamOS on it, that might be a better idea. As far as the Z1 Extreme versions go, for SteamOS, we have again, double the storage here, 32 gigabytes of RAM and 1 terabyte of storage. And that does come in at a whopping $829. That was $749 on release, but it was recently bumped in price. That's the one that I do have on pre-order and am waiting for. And then finally, we have the most expensive, the Windows version, with that same 32 gigabytes of RAM and 1 terabyte of storage. And that comes in at a eye-watering $899. Doesn't seem like a device that I would recommend to many people at that price. You're better off with the Steam version for slightly cheaper, or even the Z2 Go if you can get it for a good deal. But I don't know, maybe some people will like that one. So that out of the way, let's jump right in. If you want my full device hardware impressions and kind of initial review, check out my first review on the Legion Go S on my channel I posted back in February, but I will do a quick recap here today. Honestly, it's the ergonomics, controls, and screen that sell it for me. This is one of the best shaped devices for my hands, and I know ergonomics are subjective, but for me it fits perfectly in my palms with no hard edges. It's a hair heavier than I'd like, but the proper grips do make up for that. The controls are well placed and overall satisfying to use, and the screen is excellent as far as IPS screens go. It has a nice 1200p resolution, which gives you more clarity than a Steam Deck or even Steam Deck OLED without being quite as many pixels to push as the Legion Go 1's 1600p panel. It also has very vivid colors, which beat out the ROG Ally or Ally X, in my opinion. And pair that with extra real estate at 8 inches and the fact that it's a native landscape panel supporting variable refresh rate, it makes it an ideal handheld gaming display as far as I'm concerned. And those are really the highlights of the device. And now let's put my money where my mouth is and show you some numbers. First up, I want to draw a more direct comparison to the Steam Deck OLED, since I think a lot of people will be wondering about that. And what I've found is the Z2 Go Legion Go S shows nearly identical performance to the Steam Deck at 800p resolution and 15 watts, at least in my limited testing. And that 15 watts is the max TDP of the deck, so that's the most you're going to get out of there, so that's why that number is chosen. In Cyberpunk 2077, we see that at 15 watts and 800p resolution, the deck and Legion Go S get nearly identical numbers for FPS. We're looking at right around 48 frames per second on both of those. The nice part though is with the Go S, we can up the wattage as high as 33 watts on battery or 40 watts plugged in, albeit at a sacrifice to battery life and with louder fan noise. And then in that case, we do get over 60 FPS at those same settings. Of course, you might want to use the full 1200p resolution of the panel and not run at 800p, and there the performance will suffer a hit due to pushing more pixels. We're looking at around 30 frames per second at 15 watts and 42 at 30 watts. All in all, considering my past experience, I was really surprised to see the Legion Go S exhibiting performance to match the Steam Deck OLED, which is sort of the de facto lower wattage king as far as handhelds go. Just buy a Steam Deck, bro. I know this is only a one-game test, but I don't currently have a Deck OLED on hand to perform more benchmarks. Sadly, I'm not made out of money and can only afford a few PC handhelds at a time. So, let's move on to some broader comparisons with the Z1 Extreme chip in the original Legion Go. Here, interestingly, I found that at 17 watt TDP, in some cases the Z2 Go on SteamOS actually got better frame rates than the original Legion Go with the Z1 Extreme, at least while running Windows. That makes this device a very respectable choice for lower TDP gaming, and the Z1E does still pull away at higher wattages, but only about 10% gains across the 3 games I tested, which is a drastic change from my original testing versus the Z1E on the Windows Go S with the Z2 Go chipset. So seeing these results paired with the new lower price $600 model of the Go S, or even the sale price of the Windows model, makes it a much better buy compared to the original $730 price of the Windows model and the numbers that Windows put up on that variant. What still remains to be seen for me is what the numbers of the Go S Z1 Extreme, which I haven't received yet, running SteamOS will be, and if they'll be worth that extra price premium, which is quite a bit. I pre-ordered that model a couple months ago, but there are supply issues, so I am still waiting on that device, along with many others, to be shipped to me. At least here in the US, we don't really have them in hand yet. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you can see that head-to-head Z2 Go versus Z1 Extreme Legion Go S battle video when it releases. I want to do a deep dive between those two versions so you can figure out which the right one to get is for you. And that's all I have for today, is I just wanted to get some info about the performance of this new device out, but keep a lookout for more upcoming videos about the Legion Go S series of devices as I dive deeper and get that second model.